Welcome aboard the news review segment on the AM show. Gentle reminder that this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening at several locations. They're here in Accra on the Spintex Road, opposite the Shell signboard, and in Kumasi, Krono Mabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takrade, they're at Anaji Estate, and in Tema Community 22. In Techiman, Hanswa, Esiama, and Zema. You can call them on 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Like Benjamin said, bringing us the start of the newspaper review segment. And my guest in the studio with me this morning is Nana Yao Sapong, political assistant to Alan Kyerematen. You're welcome, Nana Yao.
Thank you, sweetie.
How are you feeling?
Oh, good. The weather has been kind to us.
Yeah.
And we're grateful to God.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like we do on the show, you have about a minute or two maximum to reflect on any issue of national interest that, you want to speak to. So what's on your mind this morning?
What actually has been on my mind, and I think it's been on every Ghanaian's mind, first of all, I would say good morning to your viewers, your cherished viewers. And you have a beautiful studio.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and I was talking to you.
Is this your first time here?
Yes, so on the other side we've been there, but this place is...
But we hosted you before. Was it on Zoom?
It was on Zoom.
Right, okay. All right.
And yes, of course, your colleague was smart about it. He says, this is Joy News. Yes. I said, yes, it's Joy News.
Yes, we are Joy News. Right.
So actually what has been on my mind, and I know is on every Ghanaian's mind, has to do with the issue of our economy and how we are able to stabilize it. And I think that Alan Kyerematen has repeatedly drawn our attention to the dramatic depreciation of the cedi. And he stated that this is actually as a result of two key fundamental causes. All right, first of all, that the systematic failure over the years. All right, over the years to focus on promoting and expanding exports, all right, and also enhancing import substitution. And actually this is something that is very fundamental and everybody knows is draining our economy. He's also stated the loss of confidence in the economy arising from the current economic, what he terms the economic crisis, which is as a result of speculation and significant surge in demand for foreign exchange. And if you do not fix these two fundamentals very right, we would always go around the table as if the economy is doing well, as if we ought to be able to fix the economy. And when we do that, you will notice that it brings peace to every aspect of everyone's life. You will not go to Makola and hear people making noise about the dollar. You will not come to the studios and hear people talking about the dollar. And he stated that to restore the confidence, it's first of all, you need a change in leadership because we need a new face. The foreign investors or even the local investors would have more confidence, all right, in our economy when we have a new face that they can trust, and they will not be able to actually dent any element on their character.
Right.
And I think it's that should take us beyond the duopoly. All right, we ought to be able to go beyond the duopoly, bring up new leadership, a new face that has a transformational mind. All right, that person would be able to actually fix the country and its economy. And I think every Ghanaian has been thinking about it, and
right.
I think I'm speaking for the masses.
I mean, I agree with you. I was in the market 2 days ago to assess the real situation on ground, and the hike in food prices was terrific.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask, though, Alan was trade and industry
Yes, he was
minister.
trade and industry
All
minister.
these things he's proposing now to help, arrest the free fall of the cedi. What did he do when he had
when he was trade minister?
Yeah.
I think that his achievement speaks for itself. If you look at the achievement of Alan as trade minister, setting the foundation for even trade surplus at the time, it speaks for itself. And when he was trade minister, he was able to actually bring in 5 huge automobile industries. They were to assemble vehicles in this country, sell them and export them.
Right.
If you go to the export promotion, the GEPA office now, there's a new trade export strategic plan that he left behind.
But I say all that to ask that, is it in alignment with what the Vice President has been saying, that he doesn't have the steering wheel? So maybe when Alan was Trade and Industry Minister, he couldn't do as much, but now that...
You and I understand from the fundamentals, or even from the fundamentals of it, that the Vice President is in a better position than an ordinary cabinet minister. The Vice President has an executive power.
Right.
The minister has a ministerial power. He reports to them. And at cabinets, if he has made submissions, if he has brought in proposals to take certain measures, and as the chairman of the economic management team, he's the lead advice to the president on issues of economy. And if your ministers have brought advices and proposals and you have not taken them up, the minister should not be held responsible.
Okay.
Those that were in his capacity as minister, he was able to do it. I mean, he lobbied to bring about the AFCFTA, which is actually putting Ghana on the map.
Is it?
The biggest.
Okay, we have to get into our papers. And
Very
in
well
the
then.
course of the conversation, I'm sure you get the chance to elaborate more on these points. But let me start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, court dismisses Forson JAPA applications, advises AG to recuse himself. I'll do that story first. Now, the High Court has dismissed different applications inviting it to order mistrial, strikeout charges, and stay proceedings over a leaked audio between the Attorney General and Minister of Justice and accused person in the case in which the minority leader in Parliament, Dr. Kasolato Forson, and a businessman are standing trial for allegedly causing a financial loss of 2.37 million euros to the state. Now, on the application inviting it to order an inquiry into the, let me find that continuation, the alleged conduct of the AG as captured in the audio, the court held that it had no jurisdiction to undertake an inquiry into the conduct of the Attorney General. It instead stated that jurisdiction on criminal proceedings must not be implied. It cannot be inferred. In addition, the court said no legal basis had been provided by the applicant. But before we take our reactions, let me welcome Remy Edmondson, National Secretary of the PPP, to the conversation. Welcome, Remy.
Thank you, Suti. Looking great this morning.
Thank you. So I'll give you a minute to get into any issue of interest to you, issue of national interest. But let me get back to Nanaya on this story before I come back to you, because you were listening with keen interest. What do you think about all of this? I mean, when I read this, I was following yesterday, and two things. Indeed, when we listened to the audio, there was no point where the AG actually said that Richard JAPA should do anything to incriminate the minority leader. But what are your thoughts? I want to find out how you feel about all this.
Personally, this particular case has put Ghana up on a bad taste. Myself, I mean, I've been thinking about it. All right, we have the main issue, which has to do with causing financial loss to the state, which myself and you, it's the taxpayers' money that has been actually, for lack of a better expression, stolen. All right, and so we should put in all efforts to be able to take back what belongs to the nation. But then, I mean, I have a stand on my good brother Godfred, and I've said that, listen, he's a fine gentleman, right? And just as many people have advised that, listen, why don't you take a step back and then clear yourself of all these brouhaha, all right? So it is his word against that of JAPA.
Right.
But let's find a neutral grounds, all right? You clear yourself, you come back. It should not stop Ghana from pursuing the 2.3 million euros, I mean, loss that has been caused the state. We need our money back. All right. This has been the case. It was offered, This has always been the issue when it comes to corruption.
Right.
The NDC and the MPP would always want to play draft with us. You understand? And I think that it is time that we actually put in much more efforts. These two political parties, in my view, do not have the political will and do not have that moral ground to be able to fight corruption.
Okay.
That is my view, because if it were the NDC on the other side, they would do the same. I mean, we've had issues of Wyoming, we've had issues of this guinea fowl and all of that. And you will notice that anytime it has to do with these two political parties, they play games with us. The minority leader, I mean, the case was in court before he was made minority leader. So among all the parliamentary, the MPs of the NDC in parliament, with this case in court, they did not find an ideal person but force him. I mean, let's not play games.
Remy, what's on your mind before we get into the papers?
Yes, it's a publication on your portal this morning about the SSNIT.
Right.
The National Pension Regulatory Authority is vowing swift action. And you remember a few weeks ago, the ILO gave a report projection that by 2036, SSNIT reserves would have been depleted and they wouldn't be able to pay pension. Yes, and now the NPRA is vowing that they are going to put in place measures to ensure that that is restored, where he outlined certain measures citizens are taking. But I find this coming a bit rather late, because I don't think it should have taken an international body to have done this study. I don't know if they are sleeping on the job, but we've had so many instances for years gone by where SSNIT has consistently made bad investments, especially in real estate, questionable investments. And recently we are hearing of a purported sale to Rock City Hotels, where, I mean, others digging into the matter are coming out with documents to suggest that the whole sale will not be in the best interest of citizens, and particularly workers whose investments are being used. So I think it's important that going forward, I would urge the NPRA, the state management themselves, to set up and ensure that whatever investments going forward are made should be done with due diligence, and to ensure that the best revenue, the best investment is what they will sink workers' monies into, to ensure that the nation reaps its benefits, and also ensure that any adequate measures that need to be put in must be put in to forestall the SSNIT collapsing in the near future. Because it will be very disastrous that somebody has worked for decades, 30 years, 20 years, and then it gets to a time he goes on pension and he cannot be paid. That would be disastrous.
Right. Disastrous. And I'm really wondering what's happening with Trade Union Congress. They said they were going to embark on a never-seen-before industrial action against SSNIT if they proceeded with the sale of the hotels. Maybe I just need to follow up on that. Now, do you want to talk about this, or should we get into the other stories in the newspaper? The court's advising the Attorney General to recuse himself. Yesterday, there was some misinformation or confusion about the wording of what the Chief Justice, Justice actually said, whether advising him to recuse himself or telling him emphatically to recuse himself. But what are your thoughts?
Yes, I don't think he should have gotten to this, as my brother rightly pointed out. I mean, I would want the Attorney General to look at it. It's about the interest of ensuring the sanctity of the judiciary, and especially enforcing and enhancing trust by the ordinary Ghanaian in the judiciary service. So he should have taken the right steps and just even if he's not going to resign, yes, I mean, step away from this case, because clearly you've been tainted. And what worries me is these subtle jabs of he still hasn't responded personally to tell us whether this audio tape is true or not. But
he said every evil that is prevailing against you.
Insinuations, yes, subtle insinuations.
That's a response in itself,
but
is it not?
Let us know, can be categorical. Yeah. It's true. I believe it's doctored. It's his party.
That all of this.
It is his party that is now his PR stating that the tape is doctored. He has said nothing, rather giving insinuations. But I think what he's doing doesn't inspire confidence. It suggests some ulterior motive, it suggests some agenda in place. And I think going forward, I hope he will really reconsider and step aside from this case. And he has competent deputies who can take over. Because, mind you, whatever the outcome might be, assuming the accused persons are proven guilty, they might say that he manipulated the scene somewhere. Somebody said, and this is the danger of it, that if he's able to call the accused, what stops him from calling the judge and making sure, or anybody and manipulating the scenes? So these are the real worries that I think he should look at and respectfully step aside.
Right. Just to add to that a quick one, you see the AG's position, the position of the AG even per the constitution, all right, puts him in a very advantageous and strategic line. Okay, he is the chief prosecutor of every criminal matter of the nation. And per the rules, I think that he is a bridge between the judiciary and the executive. All right, he's a minister of state, justice.
Yeah.
And he is the
lawyer.
The people's lawyer. So at the end of the day, okay, if we, our lawyer, okay, somebody who is supposed to be responsible for every single advice legally to the president and to the government, all right, is said to, you know, have been involved in such a thing. It doesn't speak well. The confidence, it reduces the confidence people would have in the judiciary itself, all right, and in the service of justice. Okay.
Let's get into other stories now. Still on the Daily Graphic newspaper, opinion polls wake-up call for parties, political scientists. Green Ghana Day, today's Green Ghana Day, Lands Minister urges all to plant trees, still on the front page. Not all multi-year contracts must come before Parliament, according to Majority Leader. And on the Pong Katamanso NDC issue, Stronghold Industrial Hub. So let's get into the story. 150 villagers feared dead in Sudan massacre. Lavrov wraps up Africa tour, that is on international front. What is morality to a cockroach? An editorial. I like to read that, but this is not what I want to do right now. World leaders, veterans mark D-Day's 80th anniversary. Just going through some quick headlines in the Daily Graphic newspaper, and then when we see a story that we want to get into, then we do that. Opinion polls wake up for parties. Yes, let's do this. So last Wednesday's baseline survey released by Professor Smart Sapong of the Kumasi Technical University has elicited mixed reactions, with two political scientists stating that the outcome of the 2024 elections is far from decided, giving the numbers of undecided voters as contained in different polls. One other said it called for deeper strategies among the political parties, while another said it should be a wake-up call for political parties and candidates interested in winning the upcoming elections to pay keen attention to and proffer practical solutions to the gaping youth unemployment crisis in the country. Now, the baseline survey reports highlighted the strengths of the National Democratic Congress as a party and Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as a candidate for 2024 general elections. It stated that Dr. Bawumia led as the preferred presidential candidate for the 2024 elections, although the NDC remained the preferred party for the majority of the voter population. The survey was conducted in April 2024. Interesting there. So the vice president as a leading candidate, but the NDC as the leading party. What are your thoughts? Nanayo?
When I read it, I think this whole news started somewhere within the week. I had Smart Sapong being granted some interviews across, and it was of so much interest to me. The current state of Ghana's economy itself should tell you that the vice president cannot be the most preferred presidential candidate.
But it was a survey they conducted.
We've come across a lot of surveys, we've come across a lot of polls, but is that what you hear when you go out there? I mean, sweetie, you've been going out.
Yeah.
You've been going to the markets. Is that what you hear? Is that what you see? Is that what you feel? Let us be honest with ourselves. You understand? The ordinary Ghanaian is tired of the duopoly. The ordinary Ghanaian is tired.
So what are you doing? The other political parties did. What are you doing about it?
We're doing a lot.
The PPP here, we have Alan Chabanti. Is this the Alliance for Revolutionary Change? Yes.
Of course.
What are you doing about it?
And that is a cry of Ghanaians. All right. So Ghanaians are saying that, listen, we need a new face. We need a new leadership. And that is what that is the main objective for the establishment of the movement for change. And that is what inspired the coming together of the smaller parties, some of the smaller parties that came together to form the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, of which we are very confident that soon we will be having the PPP come on
Join
board.
You, huh?
Join on board.
So I was speaking to Dr. Kwame Asasante, I think 2 days ago, and he said categorically that it's impossible for us to break the duopoly because of the system, the kind of party system we ran, you know. and the 50+1% win. So it's very difficult unless you all decide to come together as one.
It's happened in South Africa. They are now going in for a coalition government.
Let me hear Remi's thoughts on this. He's been quiet for a while.
Yes, so the poll in itself was conducted by a very, I find it questionable because it was conducted by a very openly partisan MPP member. And I just see it as an attempt to try and project Dr. Bawumia in a certain light. He's recently gone on a frenzy of promises on a very weekly basis. Was it 2 days ago, I read something about something to do with the chieftaincy, something to do with paying them. I keep asking myself, a lot of these things, why doesn't he start them now?
He doesn't, he's not in the driver's seat.
No. Oh. You're saying that you want to, let me take away the paying of salary, yes. But let's say you're saying you want to solve the issue of chieftaincy clashes, which is very important, I agree with. You want to codify and put in a system to ensure that only legitimate, people. You can start down the process now, and then let's see that. But why do you want to get the position before you can do everything you are saying? I find that questionable. But like you see, there is so much. I don't see how Ghanaians are really suffering over. I mean, look at the petrol prices just increased again 2 days ago. The instance of corruption that this government virtually has given up has overwhelmed this government.
The electricity is going to go up again.
Exactly. So I mean, talking about votes, Ghanaians really want a change.
What do you think we are voting for this year? What do you think Ghanaians are voting for? And what about what we are voting for inspires confidence in both of you and representatives of your various political parties?
Yes, it's become very glaring now that the two major political parties simply take turns in looting the state. I mean, when in opposition, they have all the ideas, they have all the solutions, all the strategies to move this country forward, to stop corruption, to stop inflation, to improve the economy. Suddenly, when they win power, all we hear about is, a lot of financial malfeasance. And I see it's very clear that none of them is very much interested in really moving this country forward. And that's a fact. You can see from their decisions and what comes out of it. And so, Ghanaians are fed up with these two. If you go to the street, if you talk to the Ghanaian, it's very clear. Even people who are very openly partisan for either NPP or NDC will tell you that you understand? So, and they urge us to, double up our efforts, as in we, the political parties, not in government. And so, yes, we as a party are open to a coalition going to this election because it's important that we are very confident that once we put our strengths together, yes, it's not just South Africa, there are other African countries that have also...
And I just invited you to join. No, so what, are you going
we are not. There have been talks with other
Oh, there's been talks between the two parties.
And with some of the others.
With others
as well, but...
Sweetie, what you should understand is that Ghanaians are tired.
Yes.
The silent majority, you understand. And this year, 2024, you are asking what Ghanaians will be voting for. Ghanaians will be voting for new confidence. Ghanaians will be voting for a new leadership. Ghanaians will be voting for transformation. Ghanaians are going out there to vote for character, competence, and credibility. All right, and trust me, when you have lined up let me add the other gentleman. If you add up the 4 gentlemen who have actually put up themselves for elections come December 2024, you will notice that Alan Kyerematen stands out tall in terms of private achievements and even as a minister, you understand. And that is what Ghanaians are in for somebody who has a plan to be able to take us out of these current economical woes. If you go to Makola, if you go to Tamale Market in the Abu, if you go to the Okanshis, that is where you would understand. Myself and you sitting here with our beautiful dresses might not be able to understand what it takes for that ordinary woman to go out there to the farm gate, bring those tomatoes to the market and sell to make a living. If we actually are involved in these petty trades, if we actually are involved in wanting to import, if you're actually involved in paying salaries at the end of the month, you would understand where the economy is going.
All right. Let's move on to another paper now, and then I'll come to you, gentlemen. The New Finder newspaper now, on the front page, trial will proceed. Judge dismisses 5 applications seeking to halt the case. Taxing lottery wins counterproductive, according to an expert. Illegal miners occupy new Kojokro-Mansu railway lines. Ghana beats Mali 2-1 in 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Let's start with this. Taxing lottery wins counterproductive. That story is on page 9 of the New Finder newspaper, and I'll get to it in a bit. So, legal advisor to the European lotteries, Mr. Filipe Vlaminck, has urged reconsideration of taxing lottery winners, arguing that such practices are counterproductive and diminish the appeal of the game. Now, addressing a training session organized by the NLA in Ghana, Mr. Vlaminck emphasized that taxes on lottery winnings disincentivize players and ultimately harm both lottery institutions and good causes funded by lottery revenues. What do you think about this? I think we're taking 10% now on lottery winnings.
10% withholding tax on betting and
all
lottery winnings. And
we need to mobilize funds. Is that a good avenue to make some money for the country, for the state?
I think that there are a lot more avenues. And I am of strong belief that we should be able to deal with the leakages in our tax basket. All right. I have heard a lot of tax experts say that if you are able to block the leakages within the tax basket, what we're going to earn at the end of the year, all right, will be more than what we are actually gaining now. And there are many more avenues that we can make a lot of money. I don't know if your news desk would want to research on property tax alone, property rate.
Right.
Then they should be able to tell us how many of these properties in Ghana are paid their taxes.
Okay.
All right. There are many avenues that we should be able to. Sweetie, there is actually the need for us to have a review of the tax regime system. So if you've had an opportunity to read the Great Transformational Plan that was actually put out by Alan Tremontin, he has proposed that there should be a review of our tax regime. There is so much pressure on our ports and harbors. It's literally that is where we get all our money. And when they go there and they do not find money, then they would want to come and actually, worry the little ones that are around.
Yes.
Right. You find quite worrying that the GRA, I mean, the government of Ghana said where it tends to give a lot of tax holidays to mounting to millions of cedis. And I mean, quite recently, you found the majority claiming they had blocked about a figure in the region of 200 million plus. I always ask myself, I mean, what value for money analysis is done before awarding these tax holidays to these companies? And do we really get back later to ensure that the reasons for which they were giving these tax holidays are being met? Because at the end of the day, the Ghanaian government the Ghanaian citizen and populace should benefit from these holidays. I don't see them being extended to the ordinary Ghanaian. And we have the situation where, yes, Ghanaian businesses are being burdened, the individual also being burdened with so many taxes on virtually everything we consume or we purchase. So yes, it's important for the GRA to really look at, I mean, as I've described them as using a very lazy approach, a lazy way, going for the easy avenues. Yes, but low-hanging fruit, that's the word I wanted to use. But I think it's important to ensure that we expand. There's been always this call for the GRA to expand the tax bracket, because there are so many of our informal sector workers who are not paying tax. And trust me, these people are very willing. If you talk to them, I mean, my nature of business, I engage with them. They are willing to pay. You understand? Once they know for a fact that my taxes are going to be used for roads, for drinking water, they are willing to pay. But GRA has still not found a way to tap into this very large pool of, business people to ensure that we expand and increase the tax revenue, and rather keep still focused on a very narrow angle, easy areas where they come. I think that doesn't work very well. It's important that they sit up and.
When it comes to Ghana and our tax systems, I think the disparity between the rich and the gap between the rich and the poor just keeps widening. Right. they just keep taking from the poor. Anyway, let me just quickly run through some headlines on the New Finder newspaper, and then you can, I'll come to you, Remy, first. So, reprioritize railway for faster economic development, according to the minister. Santehene urges mining companies to retain profits in Ghana to accelerate economic development. Ayoko Boche woos Malaysia in her Commonwealth Secretary General bid. Congratulations to her. All the best to her. IFRC commits $1 million to local-led climate actions in Ghana. Discharge duties within law. First NCA Dispute Resolution Committee charged. These and other stories in the New Finder newspaper. Pick one for yourself and get into the stories. Let's go to the papers that Remy has, and then we go to Nanael.
Okay, so I have the Ghanaian publisher here. Front page says, Jospon seeks support for African business. And then Ghana marks 4th Green Ghana Day today. 41 million trees planted so far. Ambulance trial court rejects Atufosin's mistrial application on page 3. And then on page 2, Afenyo Makin frustrated with minority caucus. And then
tax waivers, I guess.
Yes. And then the APN to hold international symposium on interoperability.
Any of these stories you want to get into?
Yes. So I have here also page 3, voter transfer exercise. Peace Council urges NDC MPP to maintain circumspection.
Right.
I'm sure that issue, it's all related to the brouhaha of the EC's directive and then turnaround time.
But what are they scared of? What is the NDC and the MPP scared of?
What are they scared of?
Yeah.
There are two major political parties.
Yes.
Around this time of year, it's just everyone is alert.
Right.
To be sure that the EC doesn't sway or lean a certain way in favor of or in favor against another party.
But have you noticed that when a party is in power, it supports everything that the EC
100%.
does. And when they are in opposition, they are against everything that the EC does.
But
if we've been able to have an established and well-implemented laws by the EC and procedures by the EC, I do not think anybody should be scared of nothing.
Exactly. The reason none of the two is comfortable with the EC is somebody would say they know what they do with the EC when they're in power.
So their capabilities are haunting them.
Yes, and so it calls for, you see, like I said earlier, none of these parties, when they get to power, are interested. All the things they complain about when they're in opposition, when they come in, they have all the power, they have all the time, 8 years, to implement these changes. But they rather take advantage of the loopholes in our constitutional framework for their interest. And I mean, on this issue, it's been said time and time again that BP has said that let us ensure a very open and transparent way of appointing the electoral commissioner and deputies. It's going to solve all this. So long as the sitting president appoints the EC, appoints commissioners, and you heard what happened when some new commissioners, deputy commissioners were appointed, and it was said that one particular individual was an MPP member, you see.
Okay.
And so it's important to ensure that let's stop the president from appointing the EC. Let's have, if it's parliament or some other constitutional body that is set up, a very independent way, then nobody can say that if they take any decision against a particular party, you cannot say that it was appointed, he or she was appointed by the president, so he's acting in the interest of the party.
All right. That's the Guardian publisher.
Yes, I would just want to touch on the railway.
Right. We have just a few minutes to go.
I think that the railway sector is one sector that we ought to be able to look at if indeed we want to go transformational, industrial transformation, as Alan has been touting. And I think that even the advanced world, the mode of transport and the introduction of railways across has actually helped. If you look at what we wanted to do with the Greater Kumasi Industrial Park, I think that having a very solid and robust railway system is going to help. And the government should be committed in actually investing if they have to invite the private sector into actually investing into the railway sector. Is going to help. Yes.
Remy, do you want to complete your papers?
Yes. So I have the custodian, the same, the main headlines, tree planting today, the Japa case, Jospon, and then Amafi Central, NDC on fire. SNET contributors, pensioners to receive automatic NHIS card renewals, and yeah, the same stories before. But okay. Yes, on the NHIS, I think just a few days ago, the NHI announced that there was going to be some support for dialysis patients.
Renal
treatment. It was a good move. It's something that we've called for some time, but we still urge them to do more, because I find it quite insufficient. Because if you realize the age groups, the age brackets they're going to take care of, those below 18, those above 60, the majority of patients lie within the brackets they have excluded. Most of the, if you visit our hospitals, most of the patients are people within our age group, people within their 30s, 40s. These are the people who really need this intervention. And mind you, the government owes them about 23.4 billion cedis.
And even, although they said that they're going to absorb the cost, our checks reveal that patients are still paying for their own treatment.
Right. You understand? So, I mean,
but Dr. Dakosa Abuaje did say that eventually the monies will be returned to them through the hospital. So we wait and see how that
exactly. But I think most importantly, we need the government to give them the money, because it's not just the dialysis patients who are suffering. I mean, all of us are suffering because the hospitals are finding they get their NHI pays the money is too late. We have supply friends who are supplying the pharmaceutical industry who tell you they get their money sometimes after 6 months. And so you have private hospitals who now, if you go, they'll tell you that maybe the drugs are on it. They'll just tell you they don't have it, go and buy out there. Because they wouldn't want to sink in their money, purchase the drugs, and then the government doesn't pay on time.
Yeah.
By the time even the money is paid, the value, look at where the dollar is now. It's 6 months ago, where the dollar was, if he's going to get it now, it's lost value.
We are chasing
it. It's bad for business and it's killing businesses.
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Nanayao now for your papers.
But you know, sweetie, I don't envy your job at all.
Okay.
Because when I picked the Daily Guide, then I saw Bawumia Tao's achievements. Then I was trying to ask myself, chasing the dollar?
It says election year. They're all campaigning.
His major achievements are promises.
Some of his achievements
are promises.
So the promises. It's like,
right.
Okay. And so that court throws out Attoforson JACPA application and GRA SML deal. Minority missed the point. Afenyo Markins. And we have the NDC.
Actually, could we get into that story? I saw you read a headline about Afenyo Markins frustrated over something.
Yes.
Yeah. What is his frustration
page 6,
coming from?
Page 6. It has to do with the GRA SML.
Okay.
And personally, with this story, when it broke out, I have been asking myself, do we not have experts at the GRA to be able to handle all of these issues? And are we not in the position to train experts since we decided to go into oil? I mean, we should have known this long ago. It says that Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo Markins has said the minority in Parliament missed the point with the Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML, and the Ghana Revenue Authority deal. Addressing the press during its putting out the fact series in Accra, Mr. Afenyo Markins said the minority is misleading Ghanaians about the award of multi-year contracts by some government agencies. The minority leader, Dr. Attoforson, in the past weeks have accused the government of breaching the Public Financial Management Act by signing a long-term contract without getting Parliament's approval first. But Mr. Afenyo Markins said the accusations of the government agency signing long-term contracts in the contravention of the PFM Act is a deception and an attempt to make the government appear bad in the eyes of the people.
Okay.
That's interesting.
I just a little take on this. You see, the majority is having to, yes, raise these issues in Parliament because we find that our corruption agencies largely have been rendered moot and ineffective. And then even our government agencies. You remember on this SML issue, the PPA on 3 occasions denied the request.
Yes.
You understand?
They went to change their name from SMEL
Good. And then
to
they
SML.
had to, GRA had to find in a way to smuggle them.
And they owe us about 18.50 million Ghana cedis.
So I mean, if the minority feels that it's in Parliament that they have a voice, because out there they have no, if these issues go to charge, if you go to Yoko or wherever,
right.
special prosecutor, we are seeing at least a trend
just
where
to add up, you see,
they are just whitewashed.
The SML, if I understand their contract very well, was to actually enhance revenue assurance. Am I right?
Right.
Revenue collection, so that they are not leaked. But
Downstream
as you said, they themselves are owing in taxes.
Yeah.
So where then are we?
3.5 million.
I mean, where are we heading?
So
we have a minute or so. I want to know.
So who watches over
what
the
other
watchman?
headlines you have, and then we can wrap up.
So I think we done with the headlines.
Okay. You have two papers.
And then I have the Daily Searchlight, Arthur Forson's Fanciful Motions Crash in Flames.
Each newspaper has their own way of...
Very colorful.
Yeah,
very
depending on the affiliation.
Yeah, okay.
And then Galamsey is the high cost of vegetables.
Okay.
Gawu. And of course, they are destroying all our water bodies.
Right.
And you were talking about this kidney and other related illnesses.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just because some can be attributed to these acts of Galamsey, because they destroying the water bodies, the chemicals they are using actually affect
taking over farms as well.
Taking over farms and
arable land
destroying
I'll
lands.
give you each 30 seconds to share your final thoughts, and then we can wrap up. Remy, you want to go first?
Okay, so I'll just end up on the ongoing voter transfer exercise. This is also with the EC. We want to urge the Electoral Commissioner to embrace the IPAC stakeholder body and urge them that, I mean, decisions, as much as they are the body mandated by the Constitution to organize and then manage elections in the body, there was a reason the IPAC was set up to advise. IPAC is not made up just only of political parties. There are also civil CSOs and some diplomatic missions as well who are allowed to come in to observe. And occasionally they are also given the permission to put in their voice. But we find a situation where sometimes the EC still goes ahead, rubbishes all the good inputs, even when there's an overwhelming input from political parties. And an example is just what happened. They are released on Sunday, and then after having to backtrack after all the...
Well, they listened. That's what you're asking for, right?
Yes, but you see, they always, this move was quite unnecessary because you had called us for a meeting on Monday, and then I think you had Dr. Yes, I watched that. You had called us on Monday, and you couldn't wait. We had all agreed on Wednesday. So it was just nice that wait for us and let's all,
All right,
discuss these issues.
Final words, 30 seconds.
We ought to be able to restore confidence in our economy, and the NDC and the NPP as it stands do not have what it takes to be able to restore it. There is a need for new leadership, and that is what Alan Kyerematen has been preaching, and many more Ghanaians. I mean, all the minority parties and every well-meaning Ghanaian is actually preaching and pushing for a change and a new force to be pushed.
I'm looking forward to see if this partnership between the PPP and the ARC will come to fruition.
Of course,
I mean, that's how we're wrapping up for...
We are very good friends, and they would come.
Okay,
they're going to come. Papa Kwesi Nduom is a businessman.
Yes, I know.
And with what is happening in the business world, with the current government, I think that once he still has that mindset of creating jobs for the people, he understands well the great transformational plan that Alan wants to bring on board.
Thank you. So this segment is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. You can locate them here in Accra on the Spintex Road, opposite the Shell signboard, in Kumasi, Kronom Abuenia, behind the Angel Educational Complex, in Takoradi Anaji Estate, in Tema Community 22, and in Techima Hansua and Esiama in Zima. Their call lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic diseases. My guest in the studio for the news review this morning was Remy Edmondson of the PPP and Nanaya Sapong, the political assistant to Alan Kyerematen. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
All right, there's still more to come. There's sports, and then there's Benjamin Akapo's blunt thought. You don't want to go away. Thank you.